So, Gaffer, coming up to 5 years in charge, which in this day and age is some achievement, how do you look back on it? Do you sort of break it up into sections of the stages of development, or how do you
I think you have to, really, because obviously a lot's gone on in them 5 years. I think the early part was when I first got it, getting to be accepted, to be honest. Because let's face it, results are the thing that gets you accepted very quickly. But I always think there's got to be more depth to it than that. It can't just be on results. That kind of glues it all together a bit quicker. But some of the things I was talking about then, I still preach now because I think they're important. The importance of the culture here, the environment for the players to work in, the connection between the players and the feel of the stadium and the fans. And the only thing I actually guaranteed in them early days was there'll be sweat on the shirt. You'll have a group that give everything, including myself. And I think we've certainly supplied that. So that was kind of the first phase, and then you get to the end of that first period where pre-season comes about, and then you've got players going out, players coming in. We had to be very, very tight with the finance, which was tricky, which was difficult. And then we get through that, and then we lost at the time. Probably everyone's, sort of almost like talisman in Charlie Austin. But then weirdly, I remember speaking at that time about. It sounds strange now, but I don't think against Charlie, he's a fantastic player, but it almost levelled everything out, because I thought when I got here the club was misaligned. It thought that it should be in the Premier League, but it had come out the Premier League a couple of years before and it wasn't a Premier League club. And I thought it was misaligned. The sort of thinking and the expectation of what it should be doing and what it was actually doing were out of line.
I think it's fair to say it's gone a bit flat. I mean, because they've had that experience, haven't they? And then, as you say, perhaps there was a feeling we should be back there again, but it felt quite a long way from it.
Yeah, well, there wasn't actually any reason to think that.
No,
but that's the human nature. Yeah, exactly. That's human nature, by the way. There's no angle to my words with our fans. They're terrific. But it's human nature. Well, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? But actually, inside, we're having to cut everything. So you go, but it's very difficult to go that way when you're going that way. Now, eventually, we know what happened next. That did happen, but I'm just saying it's very difficult to do that. I think when Charlie was sold, I think it was a real leveller. I think everyone went, whoa, hang on a minute, this is where we're at. And then people start remembering maybe some of the history of Burnley, which I've learned, selling players often to make ends meet and all sorts of different stories. That sort of glued it all back together, I think, and the fans went, I mean, a lot of this is not literal, you understand. I always got the feeling the fans went, okay, right, let's forget all the nonsense. This is what we are. This is Burnley. We come to love it, and we know we've probably all got to muck in like the Burnley fans have done for this club and the club for the fans for many, many years, many times before, which I've learnt now. I probably didn't know it as clearly then. Then we embarked on what was still an amazing period of my career, the players' careers.
In that first summer that you had, was there one thing that happened? Because it's sort of been suggested to me that it suddenly clicked into place, whether that was because you changed a couple of players or you did something in that pre-season. What was it? Because players already still here now, it suggested to me that suddenly everybody got it.
Yeah, I think we had the Manager's Day, the infamous Manager's Day. Yeah. And I think that was the first time, don't forget, the group had done that and been experienced through that. Yeah. And I think they come to believe where that stood. Yeah. Where they got it. I explained it to them. Yeah. But it's like they went, right, okay.
Yeah, I think that's the impression I got from outside, that they were sort of feeling that, even at the end of that first season when you came in, that maybe they were thinking, where's this going? But that obviously the penny dropped at that moment.
Well, I think they realised that we're all in it together. We're all willing to work hard. We locked that moment in Cork with the players. And then the pre-season, the feel of it, some brilliant, immediate sort of response from the players, a group that started to maximise themselves. We weren't always pushing. They started pushing. And that's the biggest thing you'll ever get as a manager, is when the group start leading. You have to lead, of course, the bigger picture. But when they start leading the daily sessions, the demand, the flow of a session, the detail in a session, once they take ownership of that, it's a way more powerful thing. And that's when you think, right, we're on something. Yeah. I remember early, I'll give you some snippets along that way, along that journey through pre-season. We played Carlisle away. For the first 30 minutes, we were unbelievable. I can't, it was 30-ish minutes, 4-0 up. Unbelievable. Some of the football, the quality of it. And I remember Woney come off the bench and Tony and I went, we could be on something here. It was early, but you just think, you can tell. I've been in the game a long time, you can just tell. I didn't actually know that we were going to fly as much as we did, but I thought we're going to be all right, minimum of all right, and probably better than that. And then that season started to flow, historic start.
You made a couple
player
of key signings.
stuff.
Was that
very important signings. And I always go back to it, and I don't say it to prove a point. Some people say, you always mention that. Well, Tom Eaton, you know, I was, let's just say, questioned. Is a nice way of putting it. My first ever signing for Burnley. Yeah. But I knew the person, I knew the character. We tried to take him to Watford, and then at the time when I was sacked, it was all agreed he was coming in. And I remember saying to his agent, I said, there'll be another time. You know, and I don't forget things. You know, I don't forget the people. I know what they are. And I'd met Tom. It was all above board. They'd agreed for him to come and meet. Then that didn't happen, and then I came to Burnley. So at the end of that season, everyone going, "Oh, he's been relegated," and all that. I felt that I knew the character, and I thought, you know, that if you can withstand a relegation season as a goalie, when a lot of goals are going in, but you're still trying. I'd seen the clips of him playing. I'd seen him play. He was trying to save everything he could. I thought there's a strength in that. So that was a key marker. David Jones had been promised the earth. A number of different, it's not fair to say which clubs, but a few different clubs had promised him the earth. Hadn't come to fruition. Tom Eaton said, look, this hadn't happened. I said, get him in as soon as you can. He came in, fantastic. Scotty Arfield, of course. You know, I won't sing the song, but everyone knows the song that they like singing about him.
I think Kites came in that season, and Barnsley later in that season.
Barnsley at the Christmas. We had tried to get him
as well. So you were starting to.
Bairdy came in. People forget that. Played some important parts. I mean, I remember away at Charlton was terrific. You know, and the whole feel of that group was. I don't think. I hope I do. I don't think I'll ever experience it again.
Really?
Because the flow of it, it's hard to explain to people, even in interviews like this, but the daily energy and the belief in the group was just outstanding, and players playing at the top of their form, the top of but on a daily basis, you know, going into games, I mean, you could just feel the confidence in the room. And I remember when that finally culminated in the game against Wigan, which is still probably my favourite moment. Because our first goal encapsulates what I think's right about football, and to do it on such a big occasion, to do it in an amazing moment like that, and to deliver a goal like that, I was blown away by it.
I think you said in terms of preparation performance, it was always almost perfection in terms of everything worked as it was supposed to.
Well, for what you need at that moment, because you work all the time we talk a lot with the players at this idea of automaticity, which is basically the ability to do it all the time. Right. We talk to the players a lot about that. That's why we train how we train, so that when you need it in a game, you can deliver. Well, that moment kind of encapsulated a season's work. That not just that moment, but that 90-odd minutes. You know, and people forget Wigan were flying at that time. I can't remember, they'd won 6 out of 7 or something. And everyone came to us and everyone's thinking, oh, you know, and we just went, bang, 2-0, job done. And that was just incredible feeling. And then we moved forward from there, a tough Premier League campaign, but had a real go, and people were saying we had no chance, literally, of some pundits were saying we wouldn't get a point, etc., etc. And 33 points, I'm strangely proud of that, because I think, I knew my group at the time, I knew it had its limitations, but there was an honesty, there was an integrity to it, and gave everything we could that season.
And especially with the start you had, I mean, you could have been a Derby county, you know, people could have absolutely caved in, couldn't you?
No, that's right, the mentality stayed strong, no matter what challenge came our way. And I must give the fans credit. Very difficult in the modern era for fans to stay as strong as they did. I thought their acceptance of the reality of the moment was unbelievable. I was so pleased they sort of, and I don't know this literally yet again, but I just got that feeling they bought into the bigger picture of the club. They started to hear this story of this training ground that we're now sitting in, and how the club, how it could be put on solid foundations from this moment, rather than this just throw it on the pitch and hope for the best.
That wasn't going to be the end of the world, was it?
No, that's right. Now that doesn't mean, I must make it clear, you know me, Pete, and I think the fans do as well, but we weren't accepting defeat.
No,
we weren't going out into that season thinking...
They're going to be a yo-yo club, like they planned to be relegated.
No, that's never, not... No, I must make that clear. Exactly. That hurt. Getting relegated hurts. But there had to be a bigger picture, you know, and I stated at the time, when I first got here, I was like, where did all the finance go? On the pitch. I was like, what happened to the training ground? What happened to the ground? And I was like, we can't do that again. Can't do that again. There was a big risk for me as manager, because obviously most managers demand, give me the money, I'll spend it all. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, everyone stood strong to the bigger picture. The board, fantastic as well, but I must make that clear, they got it. Then we go into the Championship again, lost some really important players, excuse me. The main 3, other players, but the main 3 being obviously Shax, who'd been tremendous for me, captain, and played fantastically well. Trips and Ingsy. Big players, very important. Others, by the way, Stocky, David Egger, people like that. So I'm not doing them down, but obviously them three had played, a massive part in that achievement that season. And then we were going along, tough pre-season. There was that weird, a lot of managers warned me. They said, there's always this cloud, when you go down. And I never thought of it in my group, because we'd had a strangely kind of positive campaign in the sense that people were written us, we've got 33 points. I think people went, you know what, they've had a real go at it. But it was a weird pre-season, and performances were odd, and there was an up and down thing. And, I went and Joey came and met me. We had a good conversation. I think he was a big catalyst for the next season, or to sort of restart that season. And Andre, of course, two big signings, other signings, but really they were the ones that were the last bits of the jigsaw in bringing it back together again.
And Keno coming into the side then, becoming a big part of the team.
Yeah, he played. I think he played. I think he played 18 games in the Prem.
Yeah,
and learnt a lot from that.
Yeah,
and Keno more growing as a player, and I think he looked ever ready, and he started to really look, like the player he became, of course. Started off strong, steady, getting questioned, if you remember, around Boxing Day when we lost. Or just before, just before.
Just before Christmas.
Yeah, that's right,
And he changed his side a little bit, didn't he?
Yeah, and then the rest is history. 23 unbeaten still, an amazing achievement, I'm not just saying it because it's me as manager. I mean, amazing achievement for the staff, the players, the fans. Some of these things, they won't be looked upon now, but in 10, 20 years' time, it'll go 23 unbeaten to win a title. I mean, that's incredible, I think. Some fantastic performances along the way as well. Real ability to see a game through, that group. So the first group, when we got promoted, I thought there was a real fluency about it and played some incredible stuff. Many magic moments in that season for different reasons. And then, as I said afterwards, the next time we got promoted was more business-like. But I had sort of weirdly enjoyed it in a different way, because to re-put it together and to find a different way of operating and get the best out of another group was very, very pleasing for me and the staff.
And that was sort of where the back four was put together that sort of transported you through, really, wasn't it?
I mean,
Wardy and Louts came
the back five were terrific. I know what you mean. They're back four, but the back five, including Tom, were absolutely outstanding. Real bedrock. Some of the play was fantastic. Some of the performances, some of the goals we scored, the amount of goals we went through that period, it was like 4-5-3 or something like that. Incredible sort of goal scoring period. And then when we needed to really muck in, and I remember games like Fulham away when we weren't at our best, but Andre scores 2, rocket, one of them's a rocket, and Bolton away, we weren't at our best, we won, and all them things that make a strong side. And then to culminate with a fantastic win last game, and another magic memory, Charlton away, the whole feel of the day, the feel of the fans, the energy in the stadium, even the mess up with the cup, with the trophy rather. I mean, even that was pushed aside. Everyone just with Tom Eaton lifting the blow up trophy.
It became part of the story, almost.
Of course. Little insights. Some fans saw us. We came out on the bus. The Blackwall Tunnel was completely closed for a period. We didn't know how long, so we got off the bus and we were going to walk. We started walking. So the players got their boots on, kit on. We started walking down near the Blackwall Tunnel. We were going to walk underneath and get in the tube, believe it or not, back to the hotel. Because you're not got a mood, everyone's going, let's just go. I remember the Kilbys and a couple of other people, the chairman Mike and his missus were all jumping over the barrier and everything. And then lo and behold, the traffic started moving again, so we had to jump back on. Silly little things like that. But magic moments. And then we go into another Premier League campaign, and then it's, right, okay, can we take stock? Can we move it again? What do we need to do? Do we go too far away from what we are, what we had experienced and the players were learning and improving? And then bringing it all back together again for a real tough challenge, but another challenge and another go at the Premier League. And then finally moved into here in the March, and we were going well, and we'd had some big wins and some great moments yet again. And then going into this summer, and then all of a sudden, we are where we are, and the next season underway, and we're at Game 7, and we've got some good points, good performances, hopefully morphing the team into something slightly different again. So, I mean, that's as brief as I can be, but a snapshot of kind of 5 years, and it goes like that.
I mean, great to go through those early seasons, fantastic. I looked at the team that played in your first game when you beat Wolves, and there's 1 or 2 survivors. Obviously Ben Vokes, who came off the bench that day, Dino, who's still with us, of course, and injured, hopefully a part to play when he comes back, Longy. So again, you improved players along the way, you've kept key players
Well,
involved?
the funny thing that I get a lot is you never change the team.
Yes.
Well, if you look year on year, we do change the team. The behind the winning, which of course I mention it all the time, not because I'm rubbing anyone's face in it, but because that's my job and that's what I get judged on. There's been some fantastic development stories, players and the ground and the club, community department, amazing what Neil Hart's doing and all of his workforce in the community, links with the community, the depth of the club around the area. It's always been there, we know that, and the connection, but it's never been stronger, I don't think, in so many different ways. So there's a secondary story, not just the winning, it's the development of players, the development, including myself and the staff, the development of the club as a whole, and then the links in the community. I mean, if I could write it down and plan it, it wouldn't be far off, being as good as it gets for 5 years to projecting 5 years. And that's from all concerned, by the way, not because it's me as manager trying to blow smoke at myself, not my style. That's from myself, the staff, the board are important. The two chief execs I work with Lee and Dave, and the fans. Everyone's kind of bought into this Burnley thing, this Burnley way, this Burnley energy, this Burnley animal, whatever you want to call it. And I think that connection has been really, really important. And when I came here, one of the other things, apart from sweat on the shirt, was a one club mentality. To build that is a really tough thing now. You've got so many different factions trying to break that, social media and people getting in the way of it, and the doom mongers and the naysayers. But to keep that real connection and that real strength with the fans and the club, I think that's outstanding from all parties, by the way, from all parties.
You have a great phrase, and I hope I've got this right. Or it wasn't yours, I think you borrowed it perhaps from Howard Wilkinson, was it? Win to survive to succeed, have I got that right?
Yeah, it's more or less that. I always get it mixed up myself. And always, when I see Howard, I'm not sure I get it right.
It makes sense when you explain it.
Roughly,
you've got to win first, or else you haven't got a job.
I think his is actually survive, win, succeed.
But
I prefer, and I've told him this, win, survive, succeed. Because if you don't win, you don't survive. And once you're surviving, you can succeed as in succeed in the bigger picture. Because most managers, by the way, you're judged on the pitch, but most managers actually, if they could have their ideal way, would have their effect on the club, not just the team. Maybe I'm a bit old-fashioned in that, but that's what I think. I think ideally, you've got to remember, I grew up, under Brian Clough and people like that, and although I was only young, it seeps into you, and varying people I worked with over the years, John Duncan at Chesterfield, it seeps into the people and the club and the manager. And so I was brought up in that kind of era when the manager was held in quite high regard and esteem and the locality of the club. That's changed now. Manager throw away, and there's no problem with that. It's just society. That's the way it is. So there's no angle to my words. But to have that connection is important, and to build on these things has been important, I think.
Just going back to last season, which was obviously a big step forward, I think, wasn't it, for the team and the club staying up, and bringing in players like Stephen Defoe, Jeff Hendrick, Robbie Brady in the January, Johan, international
not
players.
Not allowed foreign players, not allowed them.
No, we're all British.
We'd say he's from Burnley now.
So it doesn't count. All proven international players, as you say, overseas players.
All right, Defoe.
Stevie.
Yeah, all right, Stevie. Yeah, you see, he's like Burnley already.
It's going to come out even worse.
Yeah.
But again, that was a big step forward, wasn't it? A statement, but equally, it was a step forward for the team, wasn't it? And you stayed up, I won't say comfortably last year, but really moved it on.
It comes really on reflection. I mean, it's still tough every game that comes by. But
never in the bottom three.
No, that's a big marker. Those are big markers. It's tough, that's not easy for a club that's just gone up again. Yeah. And I think the mentality is growing stronger. But to reflect back to then, we brought in some players we thought could add to what we're doing. We already like what we're doing, but could we add a bit more? And the same this summer, really, and it's a strange thing, joking apart, but about the foreign thing, I've spoke about it many times, is recruitment is an in-depth process. We're not at a club that can get it radically wrong. Some are, because their owners are so rich, if they get it wrong, they just park them, move them on, sell them back, whatever. The business model of this club suggests that's not what they want to do, and I totally understand it. So therefore, the depth of a player comes important, not just what you see, what can you learn about, and what do you know about, and what do you know about their background, what do you know about their ideas on development, do they want to achieve, do they want to develop, etc., etc. To get that into Europe is very, very difficult. So it's a slow process to open them connections, There's a couple of players we were close with. There's a couple of players we looked at again this summer in Europe. But I'm still looking at the depth of the knowledge we've got on some of the domestic players. And that's important to a club like this. Other clubs work differently. It's still important. So that clears that one up, I hope. I've got nothing against foreign players. I'll make it clear to you. It's just, can we have the ones that have got the depth of knowledge, both in how they play, their people, their care and attention to the profession and what they can achieve, and then bring them into us. So that's the key.
And those who have got, obviously tick those boxes. So it appears because they've...
Well, recently I was interviewed and someone said, he's like your type of players, Sean, you know, they're good lads with a good attitude. I said, well, who wouldn't want them?
Yeah, good pros.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's
like bad pros.
When does that work then? Oh yeah, I want all the ones who've got terrible problems and I'll straighten them out. Strange. But I did remind them, you know, in the outside view, I said, well, was Joey Barton that then? But he actually is, you see.
Yes.
Underneath it all. He's had his ups and downs. Perception is different. I found him really, really strong professionally, real strength and desire to win and to achieve, and to underneath it all, there's a real thinker of the game and a professional.
So I'm going to guess, I guess I should know the answer to this. Did he surprise you in any shape or form the way he came back last year and played such a key role back in the Premier League?
No, I think he's more humble than you think, particularly in our environment. He knew he'd be respected.
On the pitch,
yeah, but
he
knew he'd have to work. He knew he'd have to work.
Yeah,
he came back and he had to work again. You know, he had to work when he first got here, and he learnt to trust me. At first, I remember him telling me after about 10, I'm fit, I want to play, and I was going, you're nowhere near it. Eventually, he trusted me with that. But when he came back, he had to work again, and he had to start again and earn the right. But he's good when he's like that. He's pushed in a corner, he's a fighter, he comes out right, I'm ready. And who knows what the next chapter will be.
Well, yes.
But he was terrific with us. But not just Joey, he played a big part that season, Andy's part last season. But Keano, the growth in Kent, then me, you know, Wardy's been getting stronger and steadier and stronger and steadier. Matt Loughton's, you know, been steady, and so many different players I could mention. I mean, that's the defence side. Vokesy with his goals, you know, Barnesy just keeps going, keeps getting himself in there. Scotty Arfield, and the ones that have gone, Boydie and people like that, have been real good, you know, servants to us as a team, to the club. I could name so many, you know, and often I try to, but you can't name them all. You'd be here all day. And then the newcomers to the club, you know, how they've settled, how they've adapted, how they're now taking on this challenge of, can you keep moving forward, you know? And that's an important part of it, their acceptance of the truth of what we are. I never try and tell them we're anything different than a team that will have to work hard every day and every game that comes round, because it's a given for me and it's an important factor.
So let's get on to this season then. Fixture list comes out, it is what it is. I mean, how have you done it? I know it's early days and you won't be getting carried, but how have you done so well?
No, but it's fair to reflect on a good start. You know, when you think of the difficulties within the Premier League, you know, and then you look at them fixture lists or our fixture list, and you look and you go, well, that is a tough start, particularly away from home. Not doing anything down, because you know, teams are good teams, and we've seen that already with even Huddersfield coming in and being a real tough game. You know, and Palace, I haven't got a point yet, providing their best performance of the season, which can happen. So every game's tough, but you do look at some on paper and you go, that's a tough away start, and to deliver what the lads have delivered has been fantastic for all. Yet again, you know, for me, the staff, the players, and also the fans. The fans, actually, I work in reversal, they've earned the right, because last year they travelled everywhere waiting for that win, and then lo and behold, a really important day and a really important win, had a fantastic day, I'm sure they did, at Palace. They've been amazing, the away fans, and I must clear it up, and I always say it, but just so that no one thinks I'm being biased towards them, just because, you know, I supported Kettering Town because I lived in Kettering. So I'm just a believer that if you're a football fan, you support your local club the best you can. It's fair to say there's some areas where people will go to a bigger club locally. But basically, so if I live in Burnley, I'm going to support the football club. When you start going away, that's a different ball game. It's even more expensive. There's a challenge, you know, physically there's a challenge, literally, to get yourself there and all the rest of it. So it's always just that little bit more when I go, fantastic. And they just kept going and going. So if these results pay anyone back, apart from us and the team, it's definitely the fans.
How do you keep raising the bar though? I mean, it's not easy.
I mean, the players deserve amazing credit. You know, my staff as well, because we look at the detail, not overthink it. We haven't gone, I said this in the press recently, it's not radical change. It's trying to add little bits and little bits and little bits, and players, of course, you know, their knowledge and their growth as I use, you know, and their sort of their development within a Premier League, which is very difficult, but they, you know, from last year, how they make sense of it, how they move forward. I think there's a just an edge of just slightly more assuredness, you know, where you're going around these grounds going, okay, we're all right. And the other thing is, people get a bit carried away with this, oh, sure, let's change this, change that. There's certain things we've changed, but a lot of it, and people forget this, is, and I said this recently as well, from roughly November-ish, if you look at away performances, they were at least solid. There was still a couple of blips, but they were at least solid. And you're actually, I was scratching my head. I thought, how have we not won a game away until we did, of course. Early season, I was really honest with it, said, not good enough. So you look at that as well and you go, well, we were so tight that it suggested that as long as we keep building on performances, that things would work out. Now, early season, they have so far. But you're right. I mean, you know, I try and balance everything because I think it's important to. It's so far. But would I take the start we've had all day with the players, with the staff, with the fans? Absolutely. So onwards and upwards.
But the only problem we've got as a club now is you're going to Arsenal, you're going to England.
Oh, yeah, well, that's been happening a lot, though, yes, down the years, to be fair. Yeah, since probably not so much in the first 6 months I was here, to be fair. People wanted me out for a different reason then. But no, I think, you know, I'm still here. Yeah, that's all I can say. I'm still here. I mean, you know, everyone questioning, trying to get a story, trying to make an angle for many times now, but I'm still here.
And it's good that people are talking about Burnley and talking about you, because
I think
the bad side is when nobody's talking about it. And I mean the club.
No, I know what you mean. I think, you know, when retrospectively, for the detail that I've given in this sort of interview about some of the stories, some of the depth of what we're doing and what we're achieving, but for the town, you know, I think it's a tremendous thing. I've learned from being here. You know, I live up here part-time, as everyone knows. I know a lot of people here now. I know the feel of it. I know the fabric of the town and what it is and the complexities of it, you know, and the tough times. I know I've learned from some of the tough times. There still are some tough times, and you know, and how important the club is. And I think that's an amazing thing. I reference it all the time. I'm from Kettering, very similar sized town. Went out of business about 4 or 5 years ago and had to go 7 divisions below, and now are climbing back up. And in non-league football, Burnley's got a Premier League football club for the 3rd time in 4 seasons and the 4th time in 8 seasons, or whatever it may be. That's a tremendous achievement, I think. Forget about me, just for a club of a town, of this size to have Premier League football, I think it's fantastic, and it can only be good for the area, which I know it is. Many people tell me it is. So that overriding, that's a fantastic achievement, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think history looked back kindly on this passage in the club's history, and a lot of it is. If I may say down to you, in 5 years, and long may it continue.
Well, we'll keep working hard, that's for sure. That's a given.
Thanks, Gaffer.
Thank you.